Hey there. One of the most early things we learn in our experience of life is that most things get easier with repetition. So when we learn a new skill, it's quite uncomfortable and tricky, but as time goes on, the practice becomes more enjoyable and we find it far easier to do. We also notice this with hardships we experience. The first time we're disappointed, or the first time we experience a certain type of pain, that's really tough for us. But with repetition, we become desensitized to it, or more able to come to terms with what happens. Just think of the first time you got stung by a nettle, or when you first had your heart broken and split up from someone. And compare that to your experience now as an adult. Most people will say that actually their perception of that hardship has gone down. They have got better at dealing with this. So this natural tendency for things to get better in terms of experience in time is something that we become clued into subconsciously very early. We practice something, it gets easier. We get injured, it heals and gets better. We go through hardships, we get better at dealing with that discomfort or that hardship. This, however, should not be taken as an absolute rule, and sometimes people do mistake it for such. So you may encounter in life certain things which do not ever become easy for you. And I've noticed that these vary from personality to personality. So just like there are some feats that humans can do which are never easy. So there's no easy powerlifting competition. There are certain acrobatic moves which some very elite people can do sometimes. Within the spiritual disciplines, there are certain feats which are on the edge of human ability, and even the greatest masters find them amazingly taxing on their mind and body. You may discover some of these within you, and often to others they seem trivial. So it may be that in life you find that loss does not get easier for you. So if a friend, even a friend that you know it's time to part ways with, goes, it always cuts, just like when you were a child. And you can see other people do not respond like that. They've toughened up to that particular thing. It might be your anger, which flares up so strong in some circumstances that the override is extremely hard. It's like a Herculean feat for you. The different people do most certainly have different areas where this appears to be so. And even with great practice and discipline, the only change seems to be from it being extremely hard to it being slightly less extremely hard. So what do we do in these circumstances? Well, the first thing to be very careful about is not to be too harsh with yourself or others. So if you meet an elderly person and you can still see that something to you that seems very easy is extremely hard for them, you may have just found this area of their personality. This is one of the tests of their lifetime. Maybe they never ever are going to find addictive things easy to overcome, for example. You may find that in your own personality. And you must be very cautious not to think that you're not being lazy, or that you're not weak, or that you're not applying yourself enough. No, you may have found something in you which is always going to be a big test. The same happens in our bodies. There are some people who always find long distance running tough. There are some people who never find lifting easy. This is the nature of existence. So what do? You need to learn to accept that hardship and get used to going through it when needed. So obviously, if you're a very compassionate person who finds loss very hard, you don't want to be working in a hospice, and you need to be understanding of yourself and give yourself more time to process and deal with things than other people have. And this can mean that you can be as effective in life even though you're having to go through more hardship to remain balanced than others. So if you're a person who always finds when you get angry it's very hard to control, you need to be like that strong man who has learnt to deal with the extreme pain to win that competition. That boxer who's learnt to go through those 2 extra rounds when they feel it's time to finish. You need to learn in those circumstances to deal with the great hardship of controlling yourself and the discomfort that causes, so that you can keep harmonious and thoughtful action. And acceptance that this is always going to be tough, and that this is part of the challenge of your life, and it's not that you're doing anything wrong or there's something broken in you, that this is just part of how you've been born, like having extra flexibility or talent for maths. By accepting these inherent areas where there doesn't seem to be an easy way to improve and to change the experience, and by learning to gird ourselves and to get through those periods when we have to, and to take this as part of our challenges, our heroic efforts to be the best person we can be, we are able to achieve more in our life. Now, I have seen some very rare circumstances where the areas I talk about have changed. But this appears to be a knock-on effect of other developments and very special circumstances, and shouldn't be something I believe we should rely on. I believe that the view that everyone can get excellent at everything and find everything easy all the time is an unrealistic view to impose on the world. And the idea that if by repetition they don't get better at something, or they don't find it easier, that something's broken, is a persecutory position to take, and it doesn't take into account reality as observed. My name is Martin Faulks, and I hope that this video has helped anyone who needs to accept a certain area in their life where things just don't get easier.